Hello, I'm your host, Robin Leach. Welcome to John Santos, the radio. We have a wonderful show for you this evening with special guest co-host. Well, you'll find out who he is in a minute, because on the radio, the special guest co-host says their own name. And we also have a special guest, the captain. It's our aviation episode. Welcome to the radio, your host, John Santo, who has cars worth in excess of $1,100. Thank you, Robin Leach. I don't own a fancy car, but I do own a reliable car. A 1982 Honda Civic. No, I'm kidding. It's a little more current than that, but not much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the radio. This is episode 50-something. I think it's 53. Anyway, we will sort out what episode number it is momentarily, but please welcome my special guest co-host,
David Weiss.
David Weiss is here. And he's a real radio guy.
That's accurate.
Right. See, I do fake radio. He does real radio. And now fake radio.
Both.
David has been on the show before, and we're glad to have him back. I'm just trying to share the show. I got to do like 3 things at once. I got to do the music, do the intro, and then do the... I have to share the show so people can listen.
A lot of people will be tuning in tonight, I'm sure. But listen, we're not good at multitasking. We're men. Women are better at that. We can only do one thing at a time, and even that we have trouble with.
That's right. And I actually read some research. We're going to have the captain on later. As a former pilot, we would talk about multitasking and everything and human factors engineering and stuff. You can't really multitask. Like when I do stuff in Excel and people say, oh, could you send an email and everything? And I'm doing something in Tableau. You can't really do all that. You got to focus on one task at a time.
Right.
Because it takes longer the other way. Like if you're distracted, it takes 20 minutes to get back into the mindset that you were in before, I read. Fascinating.
I think that's absolutely accurate, but particularly with men.
Yeah. So, what's funny is there was research about female astronauts. And they not only get sick in space at a rate way less than men. I think half the male astronauts get some kind of space sickness or disorientation. It's like under 10% of the female astronauts get that.
Isn't that funny? You just said that moments ago. Within the last half hour, I was watching Apollo 13 for the 1,000th time on cable.
I was just watching it too. It was on Showtime.
Exactly. We're watching it together. You and I love the same movies. We know the same lines. And that particular scene where Fred Hayes is upchucking stays with me because it's so realistic, the way they did it. And you see the little pieces floating. And, well, let's not get any more graphic than that. But, yeah, that comes to mind as you were talking about sickness in space. Yeah,
he got sick like right away. They had just launched. And it was they're also – I didn't realize that they're only the middle seat can really see out during the initial launch. The other windows are covered by the escape tower cover.
Right.
So they show in Apollo 13 when they jettison the tower, the escape tower, then you see light coming in the window and you see Fred Hayes' character look out the window.
Right.
Before that, they couldn't see anything. I never knew that. Only the middle seat can see. There's that little hatch window. With the window on the hatch, I should say.
Right. And Apollo 13. Apollo 13 came out in 1995. It was in the late 90s when I was co-hosting the Walk Breakfast Club morning show on WALK Radio. I did one of the best interviews I've ever done. It was a taped interview with Lovell. With Captain
wow!
Lovell. And I always wanted to do that, to be able to talk to someone and say, did this happen? Was this conflated? Did you combine these scenes? Whatever. And to talk to Jim Lovell was just absolutely great. I mean, an all-time hero of mine and so many. And we went point by point. Did this happen? Did this not happen? I got to find that. It's on a cassette tape someplace. I got to go find it.
Oh, you got to find that.
Yeah.
I share on the show. I was at a space conference when I was with Aviation Week, and a lot of astronauts came. Al Bean was there, and I asked him about his episode of From the Earth to the Moon. So that was amazing. Jim Lovell wasn't there. I really wanted to meet Jim Lovell. For those that don't know Jim Lovell, Frank Borman and Bill Anders were the first 3 human beings to leave the Earth and travel, make the first trip from the Earth to the moon on, ironically, December of 1968. They were in lunar orbit on Christmas Eve, and they were the first people to make that trip. And Jim Lovell was the first to make the trip a second time as well.
Right.
So there were only 3 astronauts. Let me a little trivia question. Other than Jim Lovell, can you name the other 2 astronauts that made the trip from the Earth to the moon twice?
Oh, man, that's tough.
That's a tough one. Do, 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 do.
Oh, good gosh. Who knows?
Now, I'll give you a hint. The other 2 commanded later landings.
Yeah, well, not Frank Borman. That's not him.
Well, now we narrowed it down to 4 missions.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Because we only had 4 more commanders after 13.
Yeah.
So it was John Young.
Okay.
So John Young and Gene Cernan made the trip together on Apollo 10. And then John Young commanded Apollo 16 and Gene Cernan Apollo 17.
17. And Cernan was the last man to walk on the moon.
The last man to walk on the moon. I got to talk to him as well. And the one question I had for him was, is it true that the last words on the moon was, let's get this mother effer out of here? And he said, absolutely, that's what I said.
That's great.
So that was right before they took off from the lunar surface.
And by the way, we could talk about this for the rest of the hour, because you and I go back and forth with any movie. If I said Hunt for Red October, we would talk about that for an hour. And
I was just watching that. Yeah,
me too. Me too. But the one thing that I recognize, being someone who's been in the media for 41 years, my career began in 1979. I watched Frank Reynolds that night when I was sitting there with my mother watching Neil Armstrong step off the ladder. And I'll never forget Frank Reynolds just very, very simply saying, he's on the moon. And then he stopped talking, and then Armstrong did his famous line, iconic line. But most people were watching Walter Cronkite, who almost, to use a radio expression, he almost stepped on Neil Armstrong and stepped over him, because for Cronkite, it seemed necessary to say July 20th, 1969. And he almost got in the way of Armstrong saying that's one small step for a man, so, and that's what he actually said. But Cronkite almost, screwed it up and talked a little too much. He should have just sit back, let the pictures and the audio tell the story.
Yeah, they actually, what was it on, and From the Earth to the Moon, Frank Borman told him, he goes, if you guys had any balls, you'd cut your mic, you scream, cut your mic. He's like, I was go, what's that? And scream and cut your mic, he said. That's funny.
Anyway, I've got a lot of people I know who are tuning in tonight. My daughter said she'd give us at least 5 minutes, so we've got to be interesting for at least 5 minutes. Rachel is watching.
Cool. Hello, Rachel.
Yeah, Captain George Hudno is watching, and he talked about having a former pilot on later. Captain George, Elmont Memorial High School, class of 75, Southwest Airlines pilot for many years, one of my best friends, and I think he's living in Vegas now. I miss George terribly, haven't seen him for a few years, but a wonderful Southwest Airlines pilot, and he's tuning in right now, too.
Captain, welcome. Welcome to the radio. I have, the audience can't see it because we are a radio show, but I have my miniature out of the autopilot from Airplane, the inflatable. And if you'll notice, David, you could tell the audience, where is the inflation valve on it?
I can see the inflation button. Yes, it's below.
Right on the belt buckle, just like the movie.
Just below the belt. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm looking at that thing. I'm getting aroused. Thank you.
This is from the Don't Call Me Shirley 25th anniversary edition. I bought it at Target, and if you bought it at Target, you sent away, and you got this mini inflatable out of the autopilot. And that was, I also have an ornament, the Twisted Airplane ornament.
That's great. Listen, since I am the official co-host here, I'll ask you a question that I've, answered many times myself. How much do you miss being on stage? One of the last shows we did together was that drive-in show in Comac, where people stayed in their cars and they were honking if they thought something was funny. We told them if they thought something wasn't funny to put their wipers on. That signified move on to the next joke, that type of thing. But I miss comedy clubs. I got to tell you, I've done several Zoom shows. I did one just a few days ago, but there's nothing like being inside a club.
No, there's nothing like it. And I do miss it. That show was, if you would have told me last year that I'd be doing a show with a tile store on the other side of Jericho Turnpike as a backdrop, I would have laughed.
True.
And you know what's funny? I was playing golf up in Smithtown, and I drove by there on the way back down Jericho Turnpike, and I was like, oh, wow, I did a show. Where? Right there in that piece of the park lot, you know. It was great to see everybody. It was a great night, Al. We had Alan Streisfeld, Les Deegan on the show.
Right.
Great show. You were on the show. It was a great show. But yeah, nothing beats like the shows that we used to do. And I think everybody would agree is, nice as it was to do a show. I've done a couple of other shows where we did them outside under tents.
Okay.
And, we didn't want to get anybody in trouble, so we didn't really advertise the shows. I switched cars 3 times driving to the venue so that the state couldn't track me. Total tradecraft, underground parking garage, switch cars. I didn't even use GPS to get to the show. I navigated to a point 3 miles away, and then I used conventional maps.
Incredible.
To get to the show, so I couldn't be tracked. I felt like Bin Laden's courier. I was like, remember Silvio in The Sopranos?
Yeah.
We used the phone once, throw it away. That's what the Taliban does.
I was going to ask you to do Silvio because we all watched Saturday Night Live this past Saturday.
I didn't see it.
Oh, Bruce was on with the E Street Band, and listen, Van Zandt was right next to him, singing side by side, whatever. I'm looking at him. I don't look at him as an E Street Band member, a charter member. I look at him as Silvio. Who doesn't?
It's
right?
Silvio Dante.
Exactly, and nobody does Silvio or any of the Sopranos better than you.
Oh, you're very kind. You're very kind. I hope the check cleared by now. The check. Oh, happy Hanukkah, by the way.
Thank you. Tonight was the 5th night. So, in my house, my wife, Linda, my daughters, Kimmy and Rachel, and our dogs, Barkley and Trixie, we all dance, do a couple of prayers, light the candles. Then we do gifts every single night. It's an expensive time of year in our Jewish household. It's
also, like we all open up our presents on Christmas all at once. It's kind of torturous seeing the thing there because I was at my friend's house the other night and his daughter opened up a gift. I'm like, man, they're all just sitting there. And it's like she's opening them one at a time. It's like, just open them all. You can't, but you can't. It's great, though, because you know what I like? Who was the comedian that said that? It gives you a chance to return their gift if they gave you something crappier than what you got them.
That's right. That's right. Very true.
Who said that? Who's the I don't want to get in trouble for telling somebody's material. If anybody said it, please tell me. I'll mention it next show. You know what I got next week on the show?
Who?
Gal Gadot.
I thought that was a joke. Now, we have seen this on Facebook. You have promoted this.
Yes, I have.
Yes, Gal Gadot, who I have to tell you, I'm going to use a technical term here. I realize that you have sex appeal and you have a lot of people who are very attractive on your show, notwithstanding your co-host right now. But when it comes to Gal Gadot, in terms of the guests you've had on your show, let me describe Gal Gadot this way. So, I am not a fan of comic book superhero movies. I have never seen the Avengers movies, or Captain America, Iron Man. I don't like those movies, but I went to see Wonder Woman. I like Chris Pine because I'm a Star Trek fan. He's a terrific Kirk in the rebooted Star Trek.
He's good, yeah. He's good as Kirk, yeah.
And he's a good actor. He really is. He's terrific. He's more than just a pretty face, obviously. But I loved Wonder Woman. So did my whole family. Can't wait for Wonder Woman 1984.
84 is coming out. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait till next week. I got to play the music.
All right.
Yeah, where is it? Here we go, yeah. This is Wonder Woman's awesome theme song by Hans Zimmer.
All right.
Why is that? When I get the good part. Where's the good part? Oh, yeah, it's that. This was a good Wonder Woman theme. Did you saw Batman versus Superman, right?
Oh, for a few minutes. I mean, it got destroyed by the critics, as you know.
Destroyed. Well, first of all, they're both DC Comics. The publisher would never let them fight.
No.
Right? I mean, they're all in the same,
Was it Affleck in that one?
It was Ben Affleck, but it was watchable. And the guy who was Superman...
was that Cavill?
Impossible.
Henry Cavill? No.
Henry Cavill was great as Superman. Yeah. And there's a scene like where Wonder Woman comes out and they're going to take on the big thing at the end, the big evil thing. And Superman goes, "Is she with you?" And Batman goes, "Thought she was with you." So it's such a great scene. But yeah, we got.
It is Batman versus Superman, right? Because I mean, I did. In my fantasy.
Well, that's after they made up.
Okay, because I had Batman plus the points. I don't know if what happened with that. So.
I
didn't.
I don't like that Batman. I don't like the fight. That was they just do the Justice League. Do all the superheroes in the Justice League like the Saturday morning cartoon.
I guess because I grew up and Superman was my favorite show growing up. I was absolutely addicted to. We're talking about George Reeves here, especially the early years. I was a big Phyllis Coates fan, the original Miss Lane. I thought that it became too cartoonish and too silly when Noel Neill came in later on. But loved Phyllis Coates. I mean, she was ahead of her time. Very assertive woman, very, very strong as Lois Lane. And I love Superman. Just absolutely love the TV series. Love Batman, the TV series. But when the movies came in, I don't know. I'm just a traditionalist. Love the TV.
Yeah, the Batman. I like the Batman movies. I like the Superman movies. But the Batman movies, there's so many different kinds of Batman movies. There's the Michael Keaton Batman movies, which are great.
Right.
And then there's the one with George Clooney, which was terrible.
Right.
I love Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, obviously, because I'm a Schwarzenegger person.
Oh, give us a little Arnold, please.
Come on, there, Batman. Time to cool off. That was perfect. For Arnold with the freeze.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm working on a bit now with Superman. I'm working on two Superman characters. One is Silvio Dante Man, where Silvio is Superman, and then the other one I'm working on is Donald Trump as Superman. So I could do my Trump wig and the Superman. I ordered a cape, waiting for the cape to come in the mail. But I was thinking about doing. Now you're in the media, so don't get offended by this bit. But let me know what you think. I'm gonna have like Superman talk about how Lois Lane doesn't know who he is.
Yes.
Lois is so stupid. She's from the fake news. It's a pair of glasses, Lois. You really couldn't tell? So stupid. Lois Lane is stupid.
There isn't anyone on earth who does Trump like you. Nobody.
Thank you.
I think he's not going anywhere. Believe me,
I'm gonna recycle that impression. I actually do a Kamala Harris I'm working on.
Oh, good.
And I think it's better than my Biden. So they got to get rid of Biden fast. They got to impeach him, or they got to 25th Amendment him, or he's got to resign or something.
Well, because your Obama is terrific too, and that hasn't gone away. You still work.
Well, he should fire Harris, right? Appoint Obama as VP and then resign, and then I could get the Obama impression back.
Well, listen, all your impressions.
But I'm lazy. I don't want to work on anybody new. This is what, for me, this 4-year bullshit doesn't work. I got to have presidential term should be 10 years. Next election, 2024, 10-year term. No, actually, it would have been better to do it for 2020, but I don't think you can legally do it. This way, 20, 30, 40, 50, you're president for the whole decade. See,
that is a line from one of your sets that always makes me laugh.
Which one?
The one where you say, well, which one? All of them. But there's a line where you say, well, actually this, but I was too lazy to rewrite the joke. I forgot what precedes that, but.
Because I say I just turned 40.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, I'm actually 49. I'm just too lazy to rewrite
the joke, which is terrific.
I just realized I can't do my Sean Connery joke anymore. He died.
Oh, you can keep doing it. So what?
Well, I say they want to bring him back as 007. He's pushing 0080. I think he's 90. I wasn't even accurate this year with my joke.
That's a good point. That came to mind too when I was watching Hunt for Red October, and I thought of you because you and I know every single line. We're watching it the same time. Yeah, every line. But I'm a fan of the Tom Clancy books too. And in Hunt for Red October, the Jack Ryan in the book is not the Jack Ryan that Alec Baldwin plays. And listen, Harrison Ford, with all the success, whatever, I'm sorry. Jack Ryan John Krasinski has been him. Ben Affleck has done Jack Ryan.
Yep.
Jack Ryan is Alec Baldwin. That's the way it is. I'll never like another Jack Ryan portrayed by anybody else. But you know that Alec Baldwin does 2 impressions in Hunt for Red October. He imitates Fred Thompson.
Yep.
Russians don't take what is it? The Russians don't take a dump without
Russians don't take a dump without a plan. Oh yeah, he does Fred Thompson.
And then he does, of course, Connery.
Now, Fred Thompson has the same birthday as you and I, August
the 19th. Absolutely right. And so does Orville Wright.
Orville Wright, yep. Which is that's why it's National Aviation Day.
Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry.
And Bill Clinton.
That's right. Bill Clinton does too.
That's right.
And you know who else? I think Malcolm Forbes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think Gene Roddenberry too.
Oh, I should know that.
I should know that, but I don't know that for sure. So let's look it up. Gene Roddenberry.
August 19th. Let's see.
I mean, I like to do fake news on this show, but not totally. August 19th, 1921.
I should have known that.
I didn't know. It just came to me. I used to have a back in the day when we had, remember books? With the paper?
Yeah, well,
there was a thing of celebrity birthdays. It was like a thing at the library, at the Wanto Library. They had a calendar and all the celebrity birthdays. Now, obviously, Matthew Perry wasn't on at the time. Let me look up Malcolm Forbes. Malcolm.
Very possible.
Forbes birthday. August 19th.
There you go. Yeah, back during the days when we would actually mail birthday cards to each other instead of
back in the day,
sending a birthday video, via the internet. But mailing birthday cards, invariably I'd get the card where it's, on your birthday. I was born in 1957 and would show what a gallon of milk was, how much a gallon of gas was, and then it would have other celebrities born on your birthday, and it would have a list. So, I
just looked up celebrity birthdays just for what the hell, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of people here. I have no clue who the hell these people are. We said Matthew Perry already, right?
Right.
Now, he and I are the same year, too, which is like crazy.
Because he's, isn't he 51?
No, he's younger than that.
Cool,
no, he's 51. I don't want to be 51, though.
There you go.
John Stamos is 57.
Oh, Stamos. That's right. Stamos I know about, too. That's right.
There's a bunch of people here. I really have no clue who the hell these people are. I have no idea who the hell these people are. They're like 17 years old. Okay, I don't want to see anybody under like freaking 30. You're not a celebrity if you're under 30. I don't know who the hell these people are. Let's get this is famous birthdays. I don't know 90% of them. What celebrity has a birthday? Who's Fat Joe?
I don't know.
So Bill Clinton. I don't know who that is. Man, these are really lame. Oh, Gerald Mcraney. That's what I didn't know.
Well, that was what was that? What was that show? What was the TV show?
Another one you think? Yes, that show. The one.
Simon and Simon. Simon and Simon. I got it.
Oh, Kyra Sedgwick. We were just talking about. Yeah, we were just talking about Kevin Bacon before with the Apollo 13.
She's married to Kevin Bacon. There you go.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Oh, Mary Madeline. I met her. I met her and James Carville. That's the first time I met somebody I imitated, James Carville. Well, I don't know what the hell they're talking about over there with all this over here. I mean, they're out of their mind. They think they're going to push a tax cut through in this political climate. That ain't going to happen.
Looks like a scary, skinny snake.
Yes.
But he is a caricature of himself. It's hard to take him seriously.
It is. It really is. No, that's it. These are lame. I mean, so I just pulled up the celebrity birthdays. They didn't have Malcolm Forbes. They didn't have. These are terrible sites. These are terrible sites.
You're right about looking at names and saying, "Oh, it makes me feel older because I don't know who any of these people are." My friend, Mike Graham, and I just finished teaching our 3rd course at Five Towns College in Dix Hills. And,
cool.
Yeah, and we're teaching communications, broadcasting courses. We did one in sports play-by-play. We just finished, and it just wrapped up a few days ago. But the students in this class, any reference that predates Miley Cyrus, they don't know. I can say Watergate. They think it's a new ride at Splish Splash in Riverhead. Okay, they don't know anything. Nothing. There's no frame of reference. There's no perspective. Students just generally, not to defame an entire generation, but they don't read. History doesn't mean much, whatever. You've got to be very current. They don't know what you're talking about. Nothing.
I went by the Watergate. I had to do my Nixon impression. I can't help it. I cannot help myself. When I'm in Washington, that's all I do is my impressions. Like, I'll be like walking by the way. I'm like, these goddamn sons of bitches don't know what Watergate is. Well, screw them, Henry. I actually was on a flight with Kissinger.
Really?
I was on the shuttle to D.C., and back then there was all one class of service, and he backed into me as he was putting his bag in the overhead. He was in row 1, I was in row 3, And he bumps into me, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir." He goes, "It was my fault." I turn around. He turns around. I'm like, "Holy shit!" On the inside, right? I'm like, "It's Kissinger." And I go, "I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary." He goes, "It was my fault. Have a nice flight." And I met Sean Connery on the shuttle to Washington a few months later, same year.
You know that Kissinger is 97 and he's still alive.
August 19th birthday.
Yeah, how about that?
No, I'm kidding.
May 27th, 1923. Kissinger, who I interviewed a few times when I was hosting a news-oriented morning show, the now defunct WLIE in the early 2000s. But somebody had given me Kissinger's home number, and I took a chance and called him without telling anybody that we were calling ahead of time. And he could not have been nicer on the phone. Now, he was very monotone. You do a great Kissinger, so go ahead. You could do the Kissinger. But he was just very monotone. He was kind of mumbling. At that point, he was in his late 70s, I assume. But he couldn't have been nicer. Called him just out of nowhere, and he said, I'd be really happy to talk.
Now, if it wasn't so early in the morning, because I have to leave my house to make that 7 a.m. shuttle, I got to leave my house no later than like 4:50 a.m., right? So I'm like shot. I just met Henry Kissinger. Why didn't I break into my Nixon impression?
Exactly.
Why didn't I say, "Hello, Henry, I'm back, and this time we're going to show him who's boss"? Yeah. I was so starstruck that I just met Henry Kissinger. I've seen him on TV. My father used to talk about Kissinger all the time. I couldn't believe I just literally bumped into Henry Kissinger.
One of the true things that Nixon and Kissinger did when things were collapsing around them, he asked in the Oval Office, "Henry, get on your knees, let's pray." That's what you should have done with Henry. You should have said, "Let's stand in the aisle, watch the cart, watch the flight attendants, let's get on our knees and pray." Yeah, I know.
17 years too late, but yes, if I could go back in time and change two things in history, that's one of the things I would change. I would tell myself, "You're going to meet Kissinger, do that what David said, and you'll meet David in about 15 years."
Yeah, we could do a whole show on these brushes with greatness and people you meet on flights. My brother, who is a lot wealthier than I am and has paid for many first-class flights from here to L.A. and back for me, and flying in first class, L.A. to New York, you're going to meet some people, and met Carl Reiner. That was one of my biggies.
Oh, wow.
That was in the late 90s, and went over, spoke to him, and his wife, Estelle, who did the iconic line, "I'll have what she's having," from when that was Carl's wife and Rob Reiner's mother. And boy, Carl was so nice. I mean, the flight attendants were upset. They wanted him left alone. And I went over and spoke to him, gave him an idea for a reboot of the Dick Van Dyke Show. So why don't you do a reunion show? You could do a reunion show of the Alan Brady Show and the Dick Van Dyke Show, a show within a show. What do you think? And he looked at me and says, "I've never heard that before. Write that down. Estelle, write that down." He couldn't have been nice. He was great. That was probably a big thrill because I'm such a fan of Carl and Dick Van Dyke. I watch the Dick Van Dyke Show now with Kimmy. Every single night before she goes to bed, we watch an episode of Dick Van Dyke. So that's what she's hooked on now.
Well, when I got off the flight with Sean Connery, it was a coworker of mine that pointed out that Sean Connery was sitting a few rows ahead of us. So I actually went up to him and I said, "I loved you as James Bond, obviously, but Hunt for Red October, Captain Ramius, you were awesome." He goes, "Thank you very much." Now we're at the line at the terminal to get a taxi cab, and Sean Connery's there. So my friend goes over to him and he goes, "Mr. Connery, do you remember," and I'm not going to say the woman's name, he goes, "Yes, she dated my friend Scott." He goes, "Yes." She goes, "In the late 50s, she had short brown hair." And he goes, "Yes, it's my mother-in-law." He goes, "Is she on the phone?" And he goes, "Yeah, let me." And he talked to her for 10 minutes.
Oh, you're kidding. Wow.
While we're on the cab line. So now we were there so long that now our coworkers came in on the next flight. Other coworkers came in and they're like, "Is that Sean Connery?" Like, "Oh, you think if I knock on the window I go, "If I were you last year, I wouldn't go near that car. It's bulletproof." So, but he was so cool to talk to because, and I didn't ask him for, I should have been, because he was so friendly with us. He's like, "Oh, I haven't talked to her in years." And he talked to her on the phone. It was so cool.
How about that? Yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
I don't know, but he sometimes you can tell just by, the interviews a superstar gives, whether or not they're approachable. He always looked approachable.
Yeah.
He'd be very cool with anybody, just sitting down and talking to him. which is
But
great.
you know what's cool though? It's like when I think about it retroactively, right, or in retrospect, whatever the word is.
That's it.
So I saw Hunt for October 1990. I'm like, okay, there's Sean Connery. I've seen him in movies all my life. Now we go fast forward like 14 years later. Now like here he is. Now we're on the flight in Washington. I'm at the Washington airport at the cab stand with Sean Connery. It's like all the things that happened in the universe, and now all of a sudden we're there.
Right.
Like I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd ever meet Sean Connery, and he's on the flight. I never thought I'd meet Paul Sorvino from Goodfellas, but I met him.
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny.
And ironically, he played Kissinger.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about Sorvino playing Kissinger, and he's had such a long career, and some of it Long Island based too. He's very familiar with this area. Is he from here? But I think he's connected.
I met him at the Space in Westbury. I met him
right here. Right. But
so he was at the film festival, the Long Island Film Festival, and they were on. It was Susie Essman and Paul Sorvino. So a woman, she's a comic, Bernadette Luckett, great lady. She was at my table, and she knew Susie Essman from the 80s.
Right.
I said, Bernadette, I know we just met. I'm a huge fan of Susie Essman. She's like, absolutely, I'll introduce you to her. So we went to the VIP area, and she saw Susie, and they both hugged each other. And then I just happened to see Paul Sorvino sitting right there.
See, whatever.
And I talked to him not about Goodfellas. I talked to him about playing Kissinger.
Right.
And his eyes like lit up because I'm sure everybody asked him about Goodfellas.
See, that's a very good point. If you go right to what people are most famous for, they'll say, okay, that's fine. You take something else. I'll give you one quickie, which was Burt Young. All right. So everybody goes, hey, Adrian. Okay. Maybe some people might mention Back to School. I go right to Pope of Greenwich Village. All right.
Right.
As Bedbug Eddie, that's the role that I wanted him to talk about. And again, eyes lit up, and he couldn't talk enough about that. Everybody's yelling, hey, Adrian to him and Yo Rocky and doing that kind of stuff. So there have been situations like that where I'll go to something else. I met the great character actor, one of my favorites, J.T. Walsh, who was in Pleasantville, and JT. So he
sit down, Matthew.
That's it. Well, Few Good Men has been on a lot lately, and I'm watching that over and over again. But to me, he steals every scene he's in, and he usually plays a bad guy. But he was Red Barr in that movie with Kurt Russell. What was that called? Breakdown. What a great movie! Yeah. And Breakdown had just come out, and I met him a couple of years later in this Los Angeles Lakers after party. It's a long story how I got roped into that. My brother knew somebody who knew Mitch Kupchak, basketball star at Brentwood High, who was the GM of the Lakers at the time. Anyway, I got invited to this after party. Linda Gray was there from Dallas. J.T. Walsh was there.
Oh, right, from Dallas. Yep.
Linda Gray played Sue Ellen. And Jack Nicholson walks in. This is a true story. It's the most famous person I ever met.
August 19th birthday.
Yep. So
I'm kidding.
Everybody's got an August 19th birthday. So we're standing in a semicircle, and everybody's, kind of bowing down to Nicholson or whatever. He comes in, he's commanding attention. And I just, for the heck of it, I just reached in and I said, Mr. Nicholson, nice to meet you. I'm David Weiss. I host a radio morning show back east, but very nice to meet you. And he shakes my hand, and he said, call me Jack. So I said, okay, Jack. And I had nothing else to say except, and you can call me David. And he said, I will, if I decide to call you. And everybody started cracking. It wasn't that great a joke, but because it's Nicholson, everybody goes nuts. They just broke out in laughter. But
I'm just trying to get the captain on the air. He's in the green room. And let me see if I can get him on the radio. What is the call-in number again? Crap, I don't remember. It's only my show. I don't remember the call-ins. So.
Can I look it up for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Is it 949-4099?
I don't know. I'm the co-host. I should carry my weight here. I don't know the number.
Let me see. Bobby might hear me. He may have already heard us because he's on the. So we'll get to you in a second, Mr. Captain. What was he going to tell? Oh, so I would have, if I had met Burt Young, I would have said, "Hey Lou, pack our bags. We're going to that college." Oh, there's the captain.
There it is.
Captain's on. Say hello, Captain.
He's connecting. He's connecting.
Oh, it's connecting to audio.
Connecting to audio. It's coming.
And then we'll welcome the
what's up, guys?
There he is.
Captain.
I should have worn my hat.
Everybody's a captain here. Captain.
That's doctor. I should have worn my hat, but we don't wear hats at my airline.
No hats?
No hat. No hat.
Now you're better off. They're just going to get sucked into an engine anyway.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like a bit like Ralph Cramden if I had to wear a hat at work.
Another one of my heroes.
Yes. Great man. Great man.
I also have Otto here.
Oh, the classic autopilot Otto, of course.
Whoever thought of this to have the autopilot inflate and actually be a thing was a genius.
Merchandise.
Now, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of
that's
trivia,
right.
where the real money from the movie is made. I'll tell you, I was watching Airport 1975 when the King Air hits the 747. Eric Estrada was killed.
Is that Karen Black? Was she in that one?
Yeah, Karen Black is the flight attendant, and what, you talk about sexism. Oh my God!
Oh, yeah.
They're like the flight. Nancy, turn the dial to 320. I can't. Really? It's a dial. They're telling you what dial to turn, and they're like, she can't do another turn. It's too much for her. Really? That's very sad. Then he called her honey. Charlton Heston called her honey about 80 times.
Yeah, that's the one where they had to airlift Heston onto the plane. That's right. Yeah.
Onto the plane. He's like, I could land this baby and not even scratch it. But so when the plane gets hit and Captain Stacy's going, autopilot, autopilot. That's where they got it from Airplane. Almost every reference to Airplane, the little girl, the nun with the guitar, is in the movie Airport 75.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think
you didn't know that.
I didn't know that. No,
they didn't teach you this at the airline. They should tell you this stuff.
Absolutely not. They didn't teach me at the airline, and Dowling College did not teach me that either. But they're out of business now. So
now they're out of business. I went to Dowling too. What does that tell us?
I live a mile away from what used to be Dowling, whatever, and you got like grass growing out of the windows there, whatever.
Yeah,
seriously, it's that
horrible.
bad.
Yeah, it's like a haunted mansion over there now. It's horrible. Because my wife went to graduate school there. Right down. We live a mile away. Yeah.
Somebody purchased that property. I forgot who, but I thought somebody purchased that property.
Yeah, they did, but they haven't done anything with it. It's still just sitting there. You know. So
I'd love to make it a house again. Make that my house.
I guess they overpaid then, right? Imagine being house poor. You bought like the Vanderbilt mansion. Now you're house poor. You're mansion poor. That's even worse. So, how you guys holding up with the pandemic? You guys, everybody good?
We're not doing good. I got to be honest with you. I'm done with the pandemic. I want to go do comedy again. They got to get the vaccine into everybody or whatever the hell they're going to do. I don't know.
I know.
It's given me about 5 minutes of comedy because I go through a list of terms that have taken on new meaning. You know, now that we're in a pandemic. So, for instance, stay at home. That order, stay at home, used to be a message from your boss telling you you're fired. Testing positive. We know what that means now, but for me, that once meant congratulations, you're the dad. Child support. Curbside pickup. Once upon a time, that was how to hire a hooker. That's all. I missed that stuff. It's like a whole routine based on that, but I'd like to put that aside and go back to where we were already, you know?
Right. David, the last time I saw you was at a Long Island laugh-off. I got smoked, and I don't know if you advanced that round, but I think it was at brokerage. Yes,
and I made it into the second round, and then I made the horrible mistake of throwing away the material that got me into the second round, and I put a totally new set together, which bombed. So I did make it into the second round. Boy, I saw you that night. That seems like 100 years ago. Oh, my God.
Yes, I know. It was probably only last summer. I guess the last normal summer that we had.
Yeah.
BC, before COVID.
Yeah, that's right.
2019 BC.
2020 BC, before COVID.
Before COVID, I'm gonna talk about my COVID experience on my podcast this week coming up. I actually had it, but mild symptoms, and
really?
I've since recovered. You know, we're rounding the turn. I'd hate to do a Trump on your show, John, but I can't help but think of him all the time. Not only when I see you, but luckily, so I only had mild symptoms and definitely recovered. And I've already been on the ice playing hockey, and my lungs are great. And I never, didn't even cough much when I had it. Just a little achy.
Oh, yeah. I still remember back to my physiology of flight class. Are there any things that they're testing for differently with pilots because of the aviation physiology and the problems? No?
No, not that I know of. So you have to disclose on your medical application that you had COVID, and then I guess the most important thing is that you were not hospitalized. Obviously, if I was hospitalized and had any sort of serious respiratory complications, then the FAA would certainly look into it more. The FAA just recently approved pilots to take the vaccine. Only the Pfizer, biotech, or some other company that whoever collabed with Pfizer to make the vaccine. Pilots are approved to take the vaccine. They cannot fly 48 hours after each dose. That's the limitation.
Oh, wow. See, I was going to say there are special different things that they have for pilots that the regular population doesn't have to contend with.
Now,
Yeah.
I've got a question for you, though, in that you had it, even though it was apparently a mild case, and
Right.
hopefully, we pray you don't have any after effects, but will you get the vaccine anyway? Do you have the antibodies? What's the deal there?
I'm going to go and get tested for the antibodies because I'm curious to know myself. I would think that you have to wait a little while to get tested for the results to be accurate with the antibodies.
Right.
As far as the vaccine, I will absolutely take it. I know that, a lot of people are a little on the fence about it as far as they're concerned with the timeline that it took to develop the vaccine. Maybe people, companies took shortcuts or political pressure, what have you. People had their own reasons for not wanting to take it. I will definitely take it. And it's funny, I was talking to a close friend of mine today just to get his opinion. His wife's a teacher, and, he works. They have a young child. And I said, dude, are you going to take the vaccine? What are you feeling on that? And he's like, nope, not even a little bit. I'm thinking to myself, like, maybe I could go in and, ask for the vaccine, but like just a little bit, just maybe we'll see. See how it goes.
I have the same question that David asked. It's like, should people go for an antibody test first? Because what if I already have the antibodies? I know a lot of people that never had any symptoms and have the antibodies. And does that affect the decision to take the vaccine or just delay the vaccine?
Right.
But I don't think they know how long the antibodies are good for. But
Right.
if you have them, that's what I have to ask my doctor. If I have the antibodies, will that affect your decision to recommend the vaccine or adjust the timing or not have it at all? That's all I want to find out from my
I feel like they must have thought of that, but like logically, I mean, the three of us would probably sit here and think like, well, if I have the antibodies, is the vaccine even going to be effective for me?
Right. That's what I want to ask my doctor if I already have the antibodies. Now, I took the chickenpox vaccine, and it's funny because I took the first dose. Like they did a titer. My blood got its ass kicked by the chickenpox.
Yeah.
So then I took the vaccine, and then he said, I said, well, shouldn't you do a follow-up 6 months later, whatever the time frame, 3 weeks, whatever it is, to make sure that now my blood can kick the chickenpox's ass.
Right.
And my blood didn't kick the chickenpox's ass, so I had to go for the booster. But I had to tell my doctor that. I'm like, why is the layman, I'm 200 credits shy of my medical degree. Why is the layman coming up with this common sense? Like anytime you do something, you test to make sure, right? That's a scientific process.
Yeah. I didn't even know they had a chickenpox vaccine. I don't even remember them having it.
And I got it in 2000.
Yeah, and I had chickenpox twice as a kid because the first time it was not a very severe case, and I had it a second time. And of course, if you had the chickenpox, it is very likely at some point, if you live long enough, you'll get shingles, which is a horrible thing to get. So I have a shingles vaccine. About 5 years ago, I got that, but now there's one that's even more effective, so you have to go back and get it again. I'm wondering about, not that anyone should have any qualms about getting the COVID vaccine, but it's likely maybe a year or two from now they say we've got something that's even more effective. They may improve it. So, but
I don't want the shingles. I just got vinyl siding. I don't need the shingles.
Fine, there you go. Hey,
vinyl siding is worse. If you get aluminum siding, oh my God, that's painful.
A friend of mine just texted me an interesting question. Could you still spread the virus after getting the vaccine?
They said
I don't know if they know the answer to that.
So the only thing I saw about that, because I had the same exact question, it's a great question. They said you still have to wear a mask only because the vaccine, and this is also to your point, David, about a better one. They don't have one that can affect the nasal passages yet. You could still have viral load in your nasal passages, and that's why they still want you to wear a mask so you don't spread it, even though you're vaccinated. So like you said, they probably will in future iterations maybe have one that does completely kill the virus even the nasal passages. Why it kills it everywhere else and not there, we'd have to get somebody on.
And by the way, to
that
put
knows.
my 1010 Wins news hat on, Dr. Fauci today was asked point blank, all right, so how long do you think it'll take for us to really feel as if we're back to normal? He said, we'll still be wearing masks 1 year from now, maybe into early 2022.
Unreal.
That's when social distancing, maybe we can put that aside. But I mean, for people who think you take the vaccine, by spring we'll be, back going to ball games and comedy clubs. I don't think so.
We happen to have Dr. Fauci on the phone. We happen to have Dr. Fauci.
Go ahead.
Really?
Let's hear him.
Hi, guys. It's Dr. Fauci. How are you? Yeah, no ball games in 2021. Just the Nationals.
Yeah, I feel like he sounds like he's had COVID for years.
I've had it for about, I'm exposed to it every day. I've had it twice, 5 times, I don't know. A lot. I've had it a lot.
Can't put my finger on. Who does Fauci sound like? He sounds like somebody. Sounds like
It's a cross between Al Pacino and somebody else.
Pacino, that's it. Pacino, hooah! That's very nice.
Oh my goodness!
In fact, Al is going to play me in the movie. I think it's like a drawl. You got to have a drawl, and it's Al Pacino with a drawl, and that's Dr. Fauci.
Oh my goodness! The day that I got tested, I waited outside at a city MD clinic, I guess, for lack of a better word. I waited outside almost 3 hours to get tested.
Wow!
I mean, during that time, while you're standing outside waiting, like wondering whether or not you have this potentially deadly disease, like, are you going to feel any better that you have to stand outside for hours while wondering?
How long ago was that?
That was December 3rd when I got tested.
Wow. I mean, just a few weeks ago. Holy.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, I cheated a little bit. I shouldn't admit this because I might get in trouble. I drove to Walter Reed, put on my Trump wig and the mask, and they didn't know. And I walked in, and they gave me that. I go, "Excuse me, I want the best test, the best COVID test." And they took, and I didn't get a bill. It was great. About $80,000 worth of stuff, and I didn't get a bill.
We're rounding the turn. I want the best therapeutics. I only get the best therapeutics, by the way.
The best therapeutics. Let me tell you something. They put COVID into me, and my blood kicked its ass. It's the China virus. Right.
That's not entirely true, Donald. That's not true at all. That's not true. And when I was in the White House, we took the pandemic seriously before you even stepped foot in the White House.
I had a hernia operation back in June as the numbers were starting to come back down. So in the hospital the day before, they gave me not one nostril, 2 nostrils, COVID, way up there. That's when they were going way up to the brain. Very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Now, if they did that to President Trump, it would just go all the way up to his hair. There's nothing to stop it. But, for me, it was all the way up there. But then I had a rapid test in West Babylon about a month ago, whatever, and they hardly go into the nostril. It's just...
I had the rapid test. It was positive. A lot of people told me that, it could be a false positive, but I've heard with the rapid test, it's more likely to be a false negative. I've heard that from multiple people. What's strange for me is that not everybody that encountered me when I obviously had the virus tested positive. Some people did and some people didn't. Some people tested negative initially, then they had symptoms. They went and got tested again. They tested positive. Some people were negative, had started showing symptoms, got tested again, they still showed negative.
Wow.
So it's very odd. And here's one thing I'll say. It seems as though certain blood types are more susceptible than others. I happen to be A positive, which is one of the more susceptible blood types. So I think there's some science behind that.
Yes, there is. I did see something about that. And they also say if you take 50 milligrams of vitamin D3 and 50 milligrams of zinc a day, you cut your risk of COVID by 50%. Wow. So I said, if I take 100 milligrams of D3 and 100 milligrams of zinc, I cut my risk by 100%.
That's it.
Sure. That's amazing.
My doctor, my doctor was teleconferencing with me. The look on her face was priceless. Totally priceless. Well, I think Governor Cuomo, are you on the phone? Yes, I am. It's great to be back on the radio. I'm on TV 11 hours a day. And if I talk just a little quicker, the briefing would be half the length. That's true. Totally true. And David,
Yes.
you ask good questions, but your cohorts in the media ask dumb questions. I want you at the briefing.
Good. If I had an
David at the briefing.
If I had an opportunity to talk to the governor, I would tell him what I thought of his dad, who went out of his way, and I interviewed Mario several times, to make as many media people feel stupid as possible. He never, ever answered the question by saying, well, that's an idiotic question. Let me tell you why. And we go into, 3 minutes as to why it was a stupid question, no matter what it was.
Well, when I'm president, I'm not going to carry a plane load of press all around the country. And in fact, on 9/11, I'm surprised Bush didn't leave them all on the tarmac because of the weight that they were. You're the only reporter. You'll be the pool reporter for the media. You can come on Air Force One. Everybody else is out.
That's fine with me.
And then David Weiss, a radio guy, gets the big seat, and you tell all those TV people, makeup people, what's going on because you have direct access to the president.
All I want is a mimosa, and I just want to take a long nap. I won't even ask you a question on Air Force One. Nothing.
Nice.
That's all I want.
And John, I'd rather be sitting in the back with you. I mean, Mr. President, I'd rather be sitting in the back with you with a cold drink in my hand, and maybe some other, schmo can fly the plane. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Well, some of my friends say if they're like, hey, if I ever own a private jet, you're going to be my pilot, right? I'm like, hell no, I'm your friend. I'm going to be sitting in the back with you.
Why do you want to fly? And what do you want that stress for?
No way. I'm putting my feet up. I'm getting a couple of ice cubes in this glass and something cold to drink.
But by the way, how you feel? Any after effects at all? I mean, you look terrific. So
no, not at all. The body aches were the most lingering thing. Those didn't start to go away until a couple of days prior to me ending my isolation. But I never had any high fevers, double-digit fevers, like 99.5 and below. The body aches lingered a bit, but then eventually they went away. And it was like sciatic pain, lower back and like shooting down my legs. It was kind of tough to sleep with that. And I lost my sense of smell, but that's already coming back. And I've thought of that on the aviation end. Right now, there's no limitations for, pilots that lose their sense of smell. But luckily, mine is now coming back. So I don't have to worry about that as far as the FAA is concerned. But
if there's a fire, somebody in the back will scream. You'll hear somebody in the back going, fire! Oh, my God, the fire! And then you'll know the sound.
Lavatory overflow.
What are you talking about? Hey, that doesn't smell like carbon monoxide. What do you mean? But it was interesting how I discovered that I had no smell. I won't go into the details. You guys can use your imagination. But after I was pretty sure that I had no sense of smell, I was cooking later that night. I got a clove of garlic in my hand. I'm like, I'll definitely be able to smell this. Nope, nothing.
How long did it take for it to come? How long did it take to come?
I only lost it for a few days. I would say, 4 or 5 days tops, and then it was already starting to come back.
I know somebody didn't have it for weeks.
And I've heard the same. Yeah. I've heard it could take months. I've heard some people never get back at all.
Yeah. So
you know what's crazy about this disease is some people don't even know that they have it. Some people have symptoms that are relatively similar to other illnesses, cold, flu, and then other people have this catastrophic, really bad case requiring hospitalization, and some people way worse. Yeah. So it's amazing. Like I've never heard of like when you have the flu, you have the flu.
Absolutely.
You've only infected anybody that you talked to before you know you had it. But you stay home and you recover. Yep. This, you don't even know you have it. I never heard of a disease where you don't know you have it.
Oh, crap. Sure.
Other than something, like cancer or something. But I mean, a communicable disease. I never heard of this.
Yeah. And the way that I felt was not abnormal from any other way that I felt when I'm fighting a bug or when I, coming down with a cold or whatever. So,
right.
I had some symptoms. I tried to make it a lazy day. This was the Wednesday. I ended up getting tested on the Thursday. I was scheduled to fly Thursday afternoon. So I called out sick Wednesday evening for my trip on Thursday. And then because of that and everything else that's going on, I just started thinking more and more about it. I'm like, you know what? I feel a little bit off. I have some symptoms, so I'll just go and get tested. But I was very surprised when they came back and said, that I was positive.
Now, I was afraid because I had a cold over the summer, and I'm like, how do I know that wasn't COVID? I mean, how do I know if you don't have any symptoms, my runny nose, my cold, that felt more like a cold. It felt like a typical cold. It didn't feel like any of the. But how do I know it just wasn't a very mild case of cold? Who the hell knows?
I know. In my house, it's become a mantra with my daughter, who took after me into the media field, and she's a journalist at Newsday and great feature writer, whatever. But all she does now, when I sneeze, if I sniff, whatever, get tested, get tested. Get tested. I mean, we're yelling that at the dogs at this point when they sneeze. Get tested. Get tested.
Right.
So,
I mean, am I short of breath because I'm fat, or do I have COVID? I don't know.
Yes, Val.
Yeah.
Please.
I don't know. It's like everything. First of all, I'm a hypochondriac to begin with. When I went to EMT school, everything is the same. Headache. It's all the same. It could be a catastrophic. I have a little chest pain. I'm at the cardiologist. I'm a I don't know. Because I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, if you just come in sooner, you could have saved John Santo.
According to my ex, anybody that gets COVID is clearly reckless. So far we have 14 million reckless people in the United States.
A lot of recklessness. And listen, wouldn't it be a good idea to know who's had COVID? Shouldn't you wear it like a badge of honor? A C over here, John, right here.
Yeah.
Right on the chest. A little big C there, not Captain. COVID, right there.
COVID.
I'm gonna get a
Captain COVID.
I'm going to get a tattoo of President Trump's face, and underneath it's going to say, I rounded the turn.
I rounded the turn. It's a great turn. I'll tell you though, but it's like I look at the data. I built my own Tableau dashboard with all the John Hopkins data. It's like it was completely variable, I think. Some countries had at this point, now they're spiking. Other countries, it's like I'm looking at the lines. It's like spaghetti. Yeah. It's like there's probably hundreds of variables that went into why it went where it did. In the future, I don't understand why they don't do this. When you have an outbreak of a pandemic, cease all travel internationally and within the states for a period of 2 to 3 weeks or whatever, and then you'll contain it. You can at least evaluate where it is. Mm-hmm. But they just let it was a great idea to stop. I would have stopped all travel.
Right.
All travel, even within the states. Stay where you are. Nobody move.
How many years? How many years ago does it seem now when Italy had the numbers off the charts? And, and then, of course, Eastern Europe, and then it jumped over the ocean, and obviously everybody flying in, and New York became the epicenter. But boy, that seems like really a decade ago, and it was just this year. Everything happened this year, starting.
And flights from Italy just don't come to New York; they go all over. I looked at the flights. That's the other thing I want to compare: the flight maps. This thing should have been stopped. First of all, the Chinese have the most blame. They should have stopped it within China, right?
But their numbers are one of the only numbers that don't make any sense. Every other country's numbers are relative. Number of infections, number of deaths, not theirs.
India and China have, give or take the same a rough number of people. And the Chinese are lying. North Korea doesn't have any cases. Iran's bullshitting. Because they also, from a military standpoint, you don't want the enemy to know that half your military might be down with COVID. Right. Like that aircraft carrier, when they said, I'm like, oh my God, now that you don't have flight ops, now somebody can make a move. You don't want anybody to know what the military numbers are. Yep. So that's why Iran's numbers are bullshit. North Korea's numbers, they don't have any cases. They completely don't have any cases.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Like, are we counting the same way? I mean, like, how do you dedupe? Right. So you went in for how many tests? How do we know that you counted 4 times, your 4 cases? What unique identifier are they saying that you're one person with 4 tests?
Here's another interesting tidbit. I don't think, let's just say hypothetically, my mom tested positive and my father went to go and get a test and they refused to test him. They just said to him, hey, you're assumed positive. You're considered positive because you live with someone that's positive. Does that assumed positive go down as a positive?
Another great question.
How about, do 2 positives make a negative?
Yeah, right.
I'm just asking, okay? I remember my math class.
According to Mr. Forzano at Smithtown High, they certainly do.
Okay, that makes sense.
What if your blood type is B negative? I'm telling you, it's rough out there. But this is we're actually at 10 o'clock. We're at the end of the show already. Oh,
wow, wait.
Flew by.
If I don't show my face, you'll never end. I said, if I don't show my face, you'll never end. You'll keep going and going and going.
We would.
Well, That's why he comes in. He's like the Grim Reaper. He comes in when you see him.
It's one thing that you're the number one show on this network in this time slot, but then to go over and take over that time slot too, I mean, that's just
can't do it.
That's greedy. That's greedy.
It's greedy. It's terrible. I thank you, Mr. Producer, for keeping us on time. That's Mr. Producer, Bobby. He runs the show. He's awesome. Thank you to my special guest co-host, Mr. David Weiss, the real radio man, and the captain for coming on. We had a great aviation episode, December 17th, anniversary of the Wright Brothers' first flight, 1903. Thanks for tuning into the radio. See you next week with Gal Gadot.
See you guys. Thanks a lot.
Take care, buddy.